Okay, we're going to have fun. All right, like Russell said, our first guest tonight is Chris Pepin Neff. Now, if you're from Vermont, you might go, boy, that name sounds familiar. Well, yeah, because he still lives in the Colchester area as well as Sydney, Australia, and that's where he's coming to us from tonight. So come on in, Christopher. Hi, Christopher. I think you're muted. Yep.
Hi, Amber. Good day.
Good day. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, so it's good to hear from you. So yeah, you before a previous life, you were the executive director of Outright Vermont. So tell us a little bit about that briefly.
That was a absolutely amazing experience. We had 1,200 youth ages 13 to really 19. And I remember one instance, we started programs like Gendertopia, the gender identity based after school program. They started a queer shuttle. We were in a meeting with the Australia Foundation for Lesbian Justice. And I just said to all the 13-year-olds, go talk to them. And I shut the door and they came out with $10,000. So, youth are amazing. Queer and trans youth are amazing. 40% of our youth were trans or non-binary. I think trans and non-binary is kind of the future of the youth movement, and it certainly is in Vermont.
So that was 10 years ago. You were executive director, and then you decided to shift gears and change professions. What happened, and what'd you do?
I was lucky that I had done a master's degree, and the way it works in Australia is if you do okay in a master's degree, it qualifies you for a PhD. And I had been a shark person my whole life. And they had said to me, you should do a PhD in the politics of shark attacks. And I thought that was crazy. But they let me do it. And so I went from Outright to go finish my PhD. It was sort of a bucket list thing that I wanted to give a try to even try to do a PhD.
So, yes, politics of shark attacks. That sounds very strange. And you did a TED Talk on it. Let's watch a little clip of that.
I'm here to change the way you think about a 2,700-year-old fear. Yes, we're going to talk about shark attacks. In my position, the point that I would make is that at an ideas forum, we're supposed to challenge the fundamental concepts of these ideas. And so I have 3 points. First, sharks do not attack. Second, rogue sharks don't exist. Third, people don't always react negatively to sharks following a shark bite. And it's on the basis of these 3 ideas that I'd like to engage today, because trying to govern ungovernable events distracts us from real shark bite prevention. So first, shark attack. Now, this is a phrase that is invented. And just like other phrases, we see a story emerge. Dogs bite, bees sting, cats scratch, elephants stomp, leeches leech, just to name 5. And each of these comes from somewhere. And there's often a competition between one term and another. Shark attack comes to dominance from Australia in the mid-1930s. In Australia, from the early 1900s into the mid-1930s, when sharks bit people, they were called a number of things. Shark bite, shark incident, and yes, shark attack. But the most common phrase was shark accident. Even when a shark bite was fatal, this was a tragic beach accident, a shark accident. However, a fight was brewing between a well-meaning and well-known Sydney surgeon and shark researcher, Dr. Victor Koppelson, and US researchers. Dr. Koppelson was upset because in the US, it was their position that sharks don't bite north of the Caribbean. It's not even a shark accident. It mustn't have been a shark. So Dr. Koppelson set out to prove that sharks attack as a public service. And he wrote the authoritative journal article of its day, which stated that the evidence that sharks will attack man is complete. The year was 1934. The phrase shark accident begins to disappear. And the US defined shark attack in 1958. So sharks attack not because of a change in shark behavior, but because of a fight between researchers. Second point. In the Gospel according to Jaws, rogue sharks are sharks that get a taste for human flesh. Now, this is also an invention.
Very interesting. My goodness. Oh, but we've got a question already. Do those magnet bracelets really attract sharks?
No.
Or retract, I should say.
Retract sharks. No, they don't. I wouldn't jump in the water with, hi, Lucy, Lucy Bell. I wouldn't jump in the ocean with magnets to protect me. No, I would not.
So you wrote a book about this as well.
I did, like human shark interactions, because, oh yeah, this book, Flaws, Shark Bites and Emotional Public Policy Making, and which you can get on Amazon. Like I just tried to look at, like, shark bites are like a phenomenon, right? They're like a political phenomenon. Shark bites happen and people freak out, and then governments, it's just like the movie Jaws. And then the mayor says, oh, open the beaches for the 4th of July. You guys are coming up on, it's May almost in Vermont. And, and in Boston, where they have great white sharks, there's a lot of pressure on them to open the beaches, in the summer in New England. And it's very similar to that. So what do you do about sharks in areas where people use the ocean?
Wow, fascinating. And also, but you've recently written another book that just came out too. And that's an interesting, and that's about LGBTQ lobbying in the United States. Tell me the premise of that and what prompted you to write that.
So I was the first lobbyist in the United States for repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And I spent 9 years on Don't Ask, Don't Tell and 6 years on trans in the military, and with 2 years on the Trump administration, then I stopped. I also did, Outright Vermont and these other things. So I did a little statewide, a little federal. And basically, the premise of the book is that lobbying rewards heterosexual superiority. That when you look at what we do, like whether it's marriage or hate crimes, or like I was talking to a friend about hate crimes the other day. Yes, I agree. We should not be killed for being queer and trans. But statistically, we're talking about a few hundred people, as opposed to criminalizing and advancing the criminal, the prison industrial complex. And I don't say this is like a lefty. I just mean that, whether it's criminalizing sex work or criminalizing marijuana or whatever it is, like we in America, we criminalize, be tough on crime. And for the queer community and trans community that is subject to violence on the basis of the criminal justice system, that is not helpful. In my opinion. And so we need to try a different path. And like the other thing I say in the book is we need to talk about poverty and homelessness. The queer community, which usually is selling out the trans community, or the gay community that's usually selling out the trans community, needs to be more attentive to the poor. Like we do, if in 30 days, Amber, we could solve all LGBT rights if we spent every dollar that we spent on bars and hair products on LGBT rights. 30 days, we could solve it.
That sounds very progressive. Yes. So with there's a lot of states that are passing or attempting to pass some anti-trans laws right now. How can we help that?
And they're all going to pass. I mean, they're all going to pass, Amber. I've got 2 words for all these states that pass these laws. Neil Gorsuch. Neil Gorsuch, the Supreme Court Justice, might be the only reason that these laws don't, because the lawsuits will come immediately, and that might be the only thing that stops it. There will end up needing to be a Supreme Court decision on the constitutionality of the existence of trans people, right? Because that's essentially what the marriage law was. It reversed, and Lawrence reversed Bowers, which allowed for queer people to exist. gay, lesbian, bisexual. And the question for trans is still outstanding. So that's going to happen. But the thing we also need to pay attention to is I'm already hearing that they're going to water down the Equality Act. So I was in a meeting the other day and people were talking about how they need to water down the Equality Act to get it through the Senate. And they're going to end up adding a religious freedom section to it that sells out trans people again.
Yeah. Well, Christopher, thank you so much. We have lots more to talk to you about, and we'll have you back because you've got just a lot to talk about. And we'll also mention about in Australia, they don't have any vaccinations because they don't have the COVID.
No.
Go figure. All right. We'll have you back in a few minutes. Thank you, Christopher. Wow. So many sharks lobbying. Oh.